Hi, my name is Arn, founder and owner of Alchemy Blade Works. As we outlined in the last video, we are going to identify specific sharpeners in the next videos of this series and talk to you exactly about how to use them, optimize them to get the best results in making your blades sharp as hell. This product that we're working with today is from Worksharp, and this is the Worksharp, I believe it's the Pro Sharpening System. They have a few. Some of the differences between them, as I've seen them, are you may have some different patterns or more options on the rotating sharpening stones on the side. You may have a metal instead of plastic enclosure. Costs a little more, gives a little more mass, so it's a little more stable. At the end, they do the same thing. So one of the things that I really do like about this is that it is an all-encompassing system. It's very simple. It's easy to portage. You can put it together in a box or something if you were going camping, hunting, going on a trip, you wanted sharp knives. Likewise, it's very user-friendly, and I want to focus just on those little pieces today as we go through. Like, if this was the system that works best for you, you want simplicity, ease of use, a system that there's not a lot of guesswork, but it still gives you some opportunities to change and optimize the edge on your blade. This could be the right system for you. Once you get everything dialed in and you understand how it works, truly it should take you less than 5 minutes to put a razor sharp edge on any knife that you have. Now, one of the drawbacks to this system, and I will tell you from the start, and unfortunately running as a one-man show, so I don't have a way to zoom this in right now, but the jaws are limited to an extent on, number one, how much depth you can get. So no matter how big my knife is, I can only put it in there a certain way. And the way that it's designed, it's intended for you to put that blade all the way back against two V's, one on each side, that are gonna help center the blade. The clamps come down, and it works really nice for making the blade nice and level. It's wonderful for a thin blade like what I have here in one of our Alchemy Blade Works chef knives. On the other hand, if you've got a thicker knife, maybe it's a tactical knife, maybe it's a Bowie knife, maybe it's a hunting knife, and you're working with something that's, I would say, over 5/32, so you're moving up close to 1/4 of an inch in thickness, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, you're going to have a little bit more difficulty in terms of getting good purchase on this. So if it's a narrow knife, maybe an inch or less, it's going to fit in there really good. But if you start getting a thicker knife, thicker blade that also has depth to it, it's going to stick out and you're not going to be able to get as good of a purchase. The other thing that I've noticed is that if you do have a pronounced taper from the heel to the tip along the tang, you might notice that it does not clamp as easily in this as well. And I think that's one of the areas that the other two systems I'll highlight down the road do shine. Nonetheless, it's a wonderful system. And I'm going to actually go ahead and lock it in here from the side so you can kind of see how it works. So what I'm going to do is put it right in there. We are going to try and find the center. So you're just going to move it around, find more or less the center of that where it's held nice and tight and supported on both sides. And then I'm going to use my finger to tighten those clamps down along the top. I'm actually going in the wrong direction there, so let's go back. There we go. Now we're getting there. All right, so find those edges so it's held nice and firm. I'm going to try and have approximately equal distance in front of and behind the clamp. And then I'm just going to tighten until that blade is firm. All right, it's not going to be super tight, and that's okay. We want to have a light touch as we're going through this, so there should be no worries there. All right, the next thing. Now I did, before I started, I took a magic marker and I did outline the edge. So here's something. If you don't know what your edge angle is, something that you can do is take a marker, outline the edge. It'll come off with isopropyl alcohol. Make sure you're always wiping away from the blade. So moving from the top of the blade down towards the sharp edge, all right? But you can highlight the edge of that blade and you can see how the marker is coming off with a finer stone. So the ceramic stone would be a wonderful way to do that on this, okay? This particular knife though, I know that I put the initial or set the initial edge at 20 degrees. It's a very thin blade. That very thin blade with that 20-degree edge slices like a butter. All right, so what I'm gonna do is adjust my screw so that I'm at the 20-degree mark. And then I'm going to rotate to my most coarse grit, which the coarse grit on this is 320. And from there, I'm going to start working that edge like so. So just easy up and down. And I'm going to kind of rotate a little bit at the base as I go through using both hands. And certainly other people may not do that, and that's fine. I like rotating from the bottom because I can, and it's a little bit easier to maneuver with my hand versus doing this, right? Because this is a heavier knife, I'm also applying some pressure to the bottom. So again, just one of the, as we go through, I always want to give some pros and cons. Pro on this system, very portable, all-inclusive, easy to adjust, and easy to use. Con, lightweight, narrow base, doesn't have a mechanism to clamp it to the surface, and I do believe or feel like it is not as well suited towards large blades. Okay, as I get towards the end, I'm going to move in more sweeping motions. And one of the nice things, especially if you're new to this, one of the nice things about using the marker first is that you can get a sense of how uniform it is. So at the very beginning, I noticed that there was a little marker left at the tip. So I worked the tip a little bit more, and now I've got a really nice uniform edge starting to develop. Now, before I flip it over, here's what I want to check. Do I have a burr? The burr is the key, and the burr is going to be a little feeling as I move along that blade that it kind of catches my finger, all right? You want to be very cautious for obvious reasons. It's a sharp knife, but we're just checking to see if there's a burr there. If there is, and once we're good to go, we're going to pull this out and we're going to flip it over. Now, it does have the ability to pull out and flip over with a little magnetic rotating piece, but because it's a larger blade, it's a little harder to do. So another small drawback that I feel on this system is that this is held in with a magnet. There have been times when I've pulled it out, it's kind of fallen off. So, just be aware that that is a possibility. And then we're gonna work back now on the other side. Again, smaller blades, not quite as big of a problem as far as that goes. All right, we want to go all the way from the heel to the tip. And again, what we're trying to do is establish that burr. So we're removing the burr that we just set, and we're trying to establish a burr going in the other direction. Now, when my boys are sharpening, I do always make sure that they wear a cut-proof glove. And I would strongly encourage you to do the same. I will provide a link at the bottom for that as well. All right. So, feeling like we're doing a pretty good job. So we're gonna flip this again. I'm gonna go back, drop it in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to my next highest grit. This is a 600, actually 800 is what's written on there. And this is these are diamond stones. These are all inclusive. You can't change these, but we're 800 grit. And I am gonna drop just a couple of little drops of camellia oil on there. I do like it because it's food safe. You can use different types of honing oil and stuff. Just be aware of properties of the oil, compatibility with other things that you're doing. And if it isn't compatible, or even if it is, wash that blade really good before you use it for food. All right, so now I'm just working again, back the other way. And at this point, once you're past the higher grit, our objective is simply polishing. All right. Now, there is a little handle at the top. I would recommend that you use that handle or get used to, actually I'd recommend you use that handle. How about that? Okay, again, once we've gotten through a few, we're gonna check, do we have a slight burr forming? If we do, we're gonna go ahead and take this, we're gonna flip to the other side, and we're gonna do the same. You don't need, it is possible to have too much oil, and not that it's gonna hurt anything, but it just gets messy. So don't feel like you need to overdo it. Just wanna be consistent. All right. Again, once we have established that basic burr and we've polished everything up, we're going to come back now, and finally we're going to go to the polishing stone. Again, a little bit of oil, a little goes a long ways. And now we're just coming back in and polishing that up. Small, consistent strokes. There is no hurrying this process, and I think that's an important thing to take note of. What we're looking at here is trying to be smooth, be consistent, be safe, and ultimately just sharpen that edge up so that it is razor sharp. All right. Again, doesn't take much. I think that's the thing. Once you've done the initial edge, the rest of it should actually move through pretty quick. Notice there aren't a lot of really harsh sounds. It should be very smooth as we're going over with the stone. You'll develop a sense of, where to put pressure, how to put pressure. It is very easy with this one to actually roll those stones over because they're pretty narrow. So it's very easy, in my opinion, to roll them over. And the edges of the stone have the potential to dig into your blade. So just be very aware. And let's do one more. There we go. All right, folks. There we go. I'm going to go ahead, pop this out. Go. You're gonna go and wipe this off. Always, again, moving away from the cutting edge. Hunting and fishing regulations are good for more than just the rules of hunting and fishing. Yep. Best to go with just one. All right. Nice. Now, as I'm going through, what you might notice, and I don't know if you can hear it, there are a couple of places where it wants to catch up. And this is part of any sharpening system. This guy only goes up to this fine ceramic stone. I don't know what the level of grit is on that. I'm assuming 1200, since we're going up 320, 800. It's probably 1000 to 1200 for that fine stone. With that said, I always follow up with a hone on a leather strop. And with this leather strop, I do have a polishing compound on it. Although, just leather on its own, developing some natural oils and waxes over time is going to produce amazing results. And what we're doing here is we're just polishing that edge. And what you'll notice is through this process, whatever you've done with the sharpening system itself, this process is what really sets it apart and makes that blade sing. All right. And what I find is that the higher quality or the better your system is for sharpening, the less this is required. But every system and every knife that leaves our house runs through or over our leather strop. All right. So coming in now, we've got our piece of paper, and I don't feel like it's any better. Actually feel like it's, there we go. All right. So some of that is finding the right angle or the right edge, but you can see how we are slicing through right now, and it is smoother. It's going deeper than it was before. All right. So there you go. Workshop sharp system. Again, Very simple, easy to set up, compact. I believe, double check, I think these run anywhere from $79 to $200 and some if you got the all metal one with the case and everything like that. It's a good system, it really is. I think that it does a nice job for what it is. I will point out some things with the other systems next. They're a little more cumbersome, a little harder to set up. You have to do a little more calculation. We'll be using a phone or something else to gauge the angle. But with that said, the other ones do offer more security, and ultimately I do believe they offer a better end result. So this, again, pros, relatively inexpensive at $80. Easy to set up, easy to portage, and easy to get good results. And that is something that I think the average user could really take advantage of. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, Arn Alleman, Alchemy Blade Works. Please follow us on Instagram at alchemy_blades. You can find us on the web at www.alchemybladeworks.com. I encourage you please to jump on, get on our mailer, and we'll be sending out tips, tricks, as well as information on future drops if you're looking to upgrade your knife system and set, or just looking for that perfect gift for someone. Thanks so much for dropping in today. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.